So for your photo split project, you're going to be selecting a photo from your phone or taking a photo and emailing it to yourself. Once you email it, you're going to download that photo, then you're going to open up Photoshop and click open, and then go to your downloads and look for that picture that you downloaded. So for me, I'm doing a picture of my cat. So for this, the size of your document or your canvas or space is going to vary because everyone's pictures are a different size, and I'm not gonna ask you to resize it because it might end up messing up your photo. So we're just gonna leave it the way that it is. Now your rulers do need to be shown. So these right here, if you go to view rulers or hit Command R so you can view it, then make sure that it's set to inches. So if you right click on your mouse, make sure it's on inches. The reason you need these rulers is you need them to create guides. So you're going to create guides to split your image because you're going to be doing 6 different edits within this one picture. Now before we do that, we're going to label this. So if I double click on background, so let's unlock it so we can name it. We're gonna put OG for original. And then I'm gonna make a copy of this. So drag it to the plus sign and label this edited. This is where you're going to make your edits. This is the original, which we will turn off because we wanna always make sure we have a copy of the original in case we completely mess up this one. We have the original as a backup. So stay on the edited whenever you're making your stuff. And actually we can go ahead and lock this just to be safe and we don't accidentally draw anything on there. So with our rulers exposed in view, we're going to drag 4 guides to the center of our image. So we're going to click on the top, drag it down. Now I'm going to hold shift so that it locks on, and we're going to put it somewhere in the center. So somewhere here. Then the same thing for your vertical line. So click and drag, hold shift, somewhere there. Now if you think that it's too high or too low, you can still click on the guide and move it around. So here's my 4 sections. Now, the requirement for this is that you're going to divide it into 6 sections. If you want to divide it differently, like let's say you want to do 6 vertical ones, that's totally fine. It's not a big deal. I'm doing it this way just because I think this is going to look a lot nicer the way that I'm going to divide this. So I know I have 4 sections. And when I get to the 2 that are across from each other, I'm going to divide these in half so that I can have 6. So first grids, we're done there. Now the next part is where you're going to be looking at your list of requirements. So for this project, let me go look for my document that gives me the list of things that I need. So it should be attached to the project, but I'm trying to open it on my end. So these are the requirements. So 6 sections, I have 4 so far. And these are going to be 3 of my sections are going to have 3 different filters. And then the 4th one's going to be an invert edit. And then the next 2 are threshold and hue and saturation. There is a difference. These are all destructive edits versus these 2 are non-destructive. So if you remember what that is, there are pictures that I screenshot and some helpful tips so that you understand how to get to these 2 items. So let's start with, I'll start with the top left. So I'm going to just use this selection tool, the box, and I'm gonna drag and select this top portion. And let's do a filter on this. So I'm gonna go to filter, filter gallery, and I'm gonna have this pop up. Now, 2 of the 3 requirements say that they need to be, so one of them has to be an artistic, so artistic is right here, this folder, and then the other one is a sketch, and then the third one you get to pick. So artistic, sketch, then you pick the other. So here's an artistic folder, here's the sketch folder, so you get to pick the third one. But let's start with artistic. You can go through any one of these and pick one that you like. So let's say I pick this one. I can adjust the settings as well. So play around with the settings here. I will say that if you select something like, let's say here, halftones, whatever color you have selected here is what's going to show up here. So it's showing up green because I have green as one of my 2 colors. So let me cancel, and let's say I want red. So select red. See, now I have red and white. So now when I go to my filter gallery, go back to that sketch, now it's showing up red. So let's say I want that one. Click OK. And to get this little selection to go away, it's Command D or select, deselect. See right here. So there's 1 out of 6. Then you're gonna do the same thing for the other side. So select this side. And so for the next one, let's do a non-destructive. So non-destructive adjustment. One of them was, I believe, hue and saturation. And then I'm gonna flip this right there. And then you'll see the non-destructive layer right here. Now I need to go back to this layer so that I can apply the rest. So I have 2 out of 6, but I only have 2 left. So these 2 I'm gonna divide in half. To do that, we're gonna use the pen tool, which we all should know by now. And then I'm gonna click on the center, hold shift on my keyboard, click down here, and then let go of shift, close it. And then I'm gonna switch to my paths tab right here, and then go down, and I'm going to turn my selection, or my path to a selection. Now, if I apply a filter or an edit to this, it's going to apply it on the outside. Do you see this outline right here? We want to invert that selection. So we're going to go to select, inverse, and now we only have this part selected. So let's go do a destructive edit, which one of the requirements was the invert. So let's do image, adjustment, invert. And there's another one, so Command D to deselect. Go back to layers, do the same thing. Click here, and then hold shift for straight lines, close. So paths, turn it into a selection, select inverse, go back to layers, and then let's see the other one. Let's do another from the filter gallery. Let's do, so I already picked one from sketch, so now I need to pick one from the artistic portion. We'll do that one. Command D. Alright, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now take note of what filters you're using. So I used halftone, plastic wrap, invert, and hue and saturation. The reason is you're going to label each one of these at the very end. And then now this one, same thing. Hold shift for straight lines. Path, selection, inverse the selection, and then what do we have? We need one more filter of our choice, filter gallery. So the third one is your choice, so it can come from any of these folders. That one's pretty cool. and try to change the settings because it might actually end up looking cooler when you move these around. Command D, and then one last one. So hold Shift for straight lines. Path. Okay, and then for this one, I think we're missing the threshold, and that's the non-destructive. And then we can move this to adjust somewhere there. All right, so I got my two here. Now, once you apply all 6, you're going to be creating text layers. So text layers, and there are requirements for the text layers. So you're going to, let me make the first box right here. I know this one was threshold, so I'm going to type in threshold. So for this, you need the font called Noteworthy. It needs to be in bold, and the tracking needs to be set to 15, so you can type that in right there. The font size doesn't matter because it's going to depend on the size of your picture, so it's going to be different for everybody, so don't worry if it's not the same size as mine. But there is a requirement of 2 colors. So for this one, I'll keep it red. So for the next one, I can change it to a different color. So a minimum of 2 different colors. That way I know that you know how to change the color of the text, which is you can click here or you can click up here to change the text. And you need to apply a drop shadow. So to do that, we go down here, or select the text layer you made, go down to Effects, and make sure you select drop shadow. This is going to pop up. You get to choose the angle, whatever you want. This is probably going to be set to black. Click OK. You're not going to see it here because the threshold you can't really see because it's mostly black and white. So the shortcut to making all of these, because I already applied the effect, the drop shadow effect, I can just drag this to the plus sign to make a copy, and then switch to my move tool right here, and then just move this to the next one. Now you can see, so I'm going to do Command plus to zoom in. Now you can see that drop shadow because it's not in a black background. So the requirement for this, I already forgot the filter that I used for that. So let me go back to Filter Gallery. Filter Gallery. It was Patchwork. Okay, cancel. So I'm going to name this Patchwork. And then I need to pick another color. So I'm going to highlight it by double clicking, or you can double click the T right here. And let's pick a color that stands out. So I'm going to do white. Yeah, that stands out in that image. So be careful with the colors you pick. Don't, like, I wouldn't pick red to go on this because, you know, red on red, you can't really tell. And then just keep doing that. Make a copy of it, drag it down to the next one, and then double click. This one is invert, or no, this was the hue saturation. So again, your labels are going to be different than mine because you are selecting your own for the photo filters. So you're not going to have a patchwork unless you select it. You're not going to have these this half-toned, plastic wrap, and patchwork. Those are the ones that I picked. So yours are not going to be exactly the same. Just a note. So this, I'm going to switch back to, let's use our dropper and pick that same red. So I'm doing 2 different colors. I'm doing red and white text. And then just keep going all the way around. This one was invert. And then I'm selecting the ones I want to make copies of. that are already the color that I want. That way I don't have to worry about that. So this was plastic wrap. And then the last one is halftone. Alright, and I believe that's all the requirements we need. So the last thing you do is you're going to export as a JPEG and make sure you title it correctly, and you're going to turn in the JPEG.